This raises an important question. Why do global institutions like the IMF, World Bank, and WTO continue to promote and enable systems that seem to fall short in addressing the underlying problems? The answer can be boiled down to one word: ideology. Neoliberal economics, which is the system we have been exploring, promoted by the World Bank, IMF, and most Western governments, wasn't always a common sense approach to trying to create sustainable economic prosperity and raising living standards. Two organizations, the Mont Pelerin Society and the Atlas Network, were at the forefront of persuading publics, economists, and policymakers around the world to adopt these ideas. The Mont Pelerin Society was a brainchild of Friedrich Hayek, an English-Austrian economist who organized the founding meeting in 1947 with 39 influential participants, launching what would become the neoliberal movement. Hayek was a strong critic of socialism, comparing it to fascism and believing it would ultimately lead to slavery. When Anthony Fisher, a British businessman and friend of Hayek, expressed his desire to go into politics after World War II, Hayek revealed his philosophy for attaining true power and lasting influence: to influence the world's thinking. He allegedly told Fisher, "Forget politics. Politicians just follow prevailing opinions. If you want to change events, you must change ideas." In other words, politicians, political parties, academics, journalists, and teachers may come and go, but ideas can live on for generations. If you want to shape the world, you need to shape its ideas. Lee Kuan Yew, the founder of Singapore, once said something like this: "Ideas on their own are fickle, but when you institutionalize them, they can have real impact." Anthony Fisher didn't just create a single institution to push his and Hayek's ideas. He created a global network of institutions known as think tanks that have shaped economic policies worldwide, extending Hayek and Fisher's dictatorship of ideas. A think tank is an organization of experts who research and discuss important topics like politics, economics, or social issues with the goal of influencing government policies or public opinion. Since Fisher founded Atlas in 1981, it has established or supported at least 475 think tanks in over 90 countries. While many of these are based in Europe and the US, there are also at least 78 in Latin America and 37 in East and South Asia. This system has been designed like a choir of voices singing the same song on public policy, so that anyone that questions it seems like a madman going against a supposedly obvious and moral rule of free markets. The chorus has basically fully made its way into the World Bank's Doing Business Index, a ranking that measures how easy it is to start and run a business in different countries. And as we have observed, the IMF's infamous and ineffectual structural adjustment programs. The Atlas Network is made up of radical pro-market institutions, well funded by big players who directly benefit from these economic ideas, like transnational corporations, family firms, and even some governments. Some of their transnational corporate donors have included British American Tobacco, Philip Morris, Procter & Gamble, Shell, ExxonMobil, and Pfizer. Despite claiming independence, Atlas and its affiliated think tanks have also received funding from US government institutions like the State Department and the National Endowment for Democracy. The process of building up this powerful network was gradual and took decades, starting from political parties in the UK and expanding internationally over time. Anthony Fisher's influence on British politicians culminated in his direct participation in the construction of Margaret Thatcher's famous neoliberal economic election platform focused on privatization and deregulation. Ronald Reagan, the former US president, was also a disciple of this ideology. His rise, along with Margaret Thatcher's leadership in the UK, marked a turning point in the 1980s for two of the world's most influential democracies. Together, they played a major role in embedding these ideas deeply into public consciousness, shaping economic policies and attitudes for decades to come. The Atlas Network's influence also played a big role in the establishment of the Nobel Prize in Economics against the wishes of the Nobel Foundation, the Nobel family, and the Swedish Parliament. The prize was constructed in collaboration with smart neoliberal economist bankers in charge of Sweden's central bank, and it was awarded majorly to neoliberal economists for the first 25 years, just to emphasize that their version of economics was not just right, it was the only solution. The 1980s were also a time when the number of corporate lobbyists in the US outnumbered federal employees for the first time ever. The concentrated effort by corporations to steer public and political discourse through lobbying, think tanks, and policy planning networks began to yield significant results, and corporate influence surged. This trend has continued, and even today, corporate lobbyists hold a tremendous amount of influence over the US government. The lobbyists have pushed policies that don't just harm poorer foreign nations, they harm citizens of their own countries. In this world, democracy and capitalism have been hijacked and corrupted by big capital that funds lobbying efforts, political campaigns, and even many non-profit institutions. Hey, if you like that video, click somewhere to the right of your screen to watch the full unfiltered version. All the best and thank you.